Talk UK, Pro Beez, once again, delighted to be joined by the man himself, Mr. Tyan Booth. What's crack-a-lacking?
How you doing, bro? You all good, yeah?
Bro, I'm doing well, man. I'm buzzing, man. I'm buzzing, man. How you feeling, man? This is fight week, man. We're almost there.
You know what? This is like one of the few fights, that I'm really looking forward to. Brook, Terence Crawford. Like a lot of the fights, I'm not really bothered about. Like Joshua Buatsi against Kalic. I've never heard of Kalic. Tyson Fury, who's he fighting?
Maybe Cabriel.
Never heard of him. So, this Terence Crawford, Brook fight, I'm really looking forward to this. And Eddie Earn was saying that it's not going to bring in the money, but I'm happy to pay for that.
Yeah, I'm paying for that. I'm paying for that.
And I'm like a casual boxing fan nowadays. But I can't wait for that fight.
Yeah. I suppose you're lending local support to Kell Brook, man. I know he knows that you'll be watching, man. The whole Sheffield, massive, rooting for each other.
Yeah, that location thing, that don't really matter to me, Because you remember that Carson Jones?
You
remember when he gave Kell Brook a good fight in the first fight?
The first fight, yeah, it was a bloody fight. I remember that, man. War and guts.
That Carson Jones, he started adding me on Facebook. Do you know what I mean? And he was like messaging me, being all nice and friendly. So, when he came back to England to fight that Ted Cheeseman.
Ted, yeah.
I wanted Carson Jones to fuck him up. Do you know what I mean? So even though Cheeseman's from the same country as me, that don't really matter to me. You know what I mean? So this whole Sheffield thing, Kell Brook, that don't really matter. I just like Kell Brook, innit? Dillian White's from London, innit? But I want him to fuck up Povetkin. So it's one of them things, innit? I don't have to be from the same city as somebody, to root for them.
Yeah. But I know them, man, Kid Galahad and Kell Brook, man, they respect you highly, man. I know that for a fact, man. When I was in the Ingle gym, they're like, yeah, Tyan, man. They got respect for you, man. So you know what I mean?
It's kind of hard to be around those kind of guys, though, because they've done well in boxing. They've done well in boxing, man. You know what I mean? Like, I've had to try and do well in YouTube, to try and compensate for my lack of achievements in boxing. Because it's hard to be around successful boxers, like Kell, Kid Galahad, Billy Joe Saunders, Liam Williams. It's hard to be around success, when you didn't quite make it. I was talking to Johnny Nelson the other day in the gym. You know what I mean? And he had like a bad start. I think he lost his first 3 fights.
I think it's 5 fights, isn't it? 4, maybe it was 5, I think.
It was either 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Then he won a world title, so he kind of turned it around, innit? So, it's not about how you start, it's about how you end.
Is that what we say to the ladies?
Yeah, you know what? This YouTube life, it does help. Helps you in that department,
Okay.
Like,
them groupies been coming through. The groupies been coming through, yeah?
Yeah, but they're not like 10 out of 10. They're more like probably 6 out of 10, but you know
Tick
what I mean?
over, man. Tick over.
That's it. Beggars can't be choosers,
So look, I saw Johnny on IG doing a bit of sparring, man. How was he looking in the Ingle gym?
I spoke to Johnny about 3 years ago. And I said to Johnny, why don't you come back to the gym, to spar? And he said, because I don't want to come back, and spar and get that hunger back. I don't want to get that competitive energy back. Because, when you spar with somebody, if they beat the fuck out of you. That's why I don't really want to go and spar with like Kid Galahad. Because I know if I go and spar with him, because he lives the life every day, he'll beat the fuck out of me. I'll take it personal, not in the way where I want to kill him, but in the way where I want to get back on the boxing and, really train hard. But it's a young man's sport, innit? So sometimes you have to just walk away.
Hey, look, you mentioned walking away. Some people are saying this is a cash out fight for Kell Brook. He's going there for the last big check. But Kell Brook says different. He said he's going there to win and become a 2-time world champion. What do you reckon?
I don't see why it's like one or the other. You know, obviously he wants the money, don't he? He wants that big money. You know, he's got 3 doors. You know, but he also wants to win, you know, and make history. You know, going over to America and beating the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. So it's not like one or the other. Like he's going for the cash, but he doesn't want the win. You know, he wants both, don't he? That's what it's about, isn't it?
There's been a lot out there saying that Kell Brook, you know, we've seen the best days of Kell Brook. That fight against Golovkin took his soul. What would you say to the people that said that?
They say that, you know, when someone's unbeaten, they've got that kind of invincibility, you know, that
there's
aura
a drip. There's a drip about them. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like you got that aura of invincibility. But then when you lose, that kind of goes. You know what I mean? So maybe it went a little bit with the Golovkin defeat, you know, losing his unbeaten record, but I don't know, like, you know, the biggest factor for me, you know, with this Terence Crawford fight is Kell Brook's trainer. I've never heard of this guy called Carlos Fermento.
Yeah.
I've never heard of him, and I was watching Dominic Ingle get interviewed, you know, on Seconds Out.
Seconds Out, yeah. He did something with Spencer as well, yeah.
You know, Danny Flexen.
Yep.
And he's never heard of him, and he's like a boxing kind of historian, Danny Flexen. I used to work with him at the Boxing News, and he's got a lot of facts. And he's never heard of this guy who's training Kell. So it's like, who is he? Have you ever heard of him?
Never heard of him. Well, one thing I do know is, you know, that chemistry he had with Dominic Ingle. Sometimes fighters and Pacific trainers, man, they have this chemistry about them that helps with their success. I mean, we saw that Mark Tibbs and Dillian White, you know, when those two worked their magic together, they went on a long unbeaten run. And in fact, actually, unbeaten together, it was just, obviously they had their issue. Dillian brought in Xavier Miller, and obviously it didn't get the result. But sometimes, man, there's that chemistry, man. And honestly, Dominic Ingle, he did take Kell Brook to that world title in the States against Sean Porter, that win against Sean Porter. So there's a big question mark there for some people.
Dominic Ingle's got a few fighters in his gym. Liam Williams is on the verge of becoming a world champion or boxing for a world title, you know, against Andrade. You know, like Willie Hutchinson.
Yeah.
He's about 22 years old, and he was supposed to be giving Kell like really hard spars, you know, in the gym. So, you know, if Dominic's got these kind of guys, and these guys are quite younger than Kell, you know, he's got to look after his future, hasn't he, Dominic? So I don't think he wanted to leave like Liam Williams and Willie Hutchinson, you know, and just fuck off to America or Fort Ventura, you know, and risk getting stuck abroad, you know, during lockdown. So I don't know, like, I don't think they've had a falling out. I think it's just timing. You know, the Terence Crawford fight came up, you know, and Dominic had to look after Liam Williams and Willie Hutchinson. So I think it's just like timing more than anything. I don't think they fell out.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree with that. But it's the timing. I mean, speaking to Johnny Nelson a few weeks ago against Terence Crawford, like the pound for pound #1 in the world. Wow, it's a tall order. Is, you know, to overturn, you know, a guy that is rated as the #1 pound for pound, and you've got a new trainer in your corner. I mean, do you feel like the odds might be stacked against him because of that?
Yeah, they've got to be, aren't they, really? I mean, the new trainer who no one's ever heard of. You know, people talk about this, you know, the rehydration clause. That's not there for this fight. You know, where he's got to weigh in like within 10 pounds of what he got weighed in at. So he gets weighed the day before. Normally, when there's like a rehydration clause, you get weighed, you can't weigh more than 10 pounds, you know, the day after. But there's none of that in this fight. So people are saying that's going to benefit Kel.
Yes.
But Kel like to eat food, you know, like I do.
Mm.
So he might come in like a lot heavier, you know, he might be like bloated and feel a bit sluggish, you know, if he's a bit heavier. Because, you know, his normal, you know how Dominic's not in his corner. There's a guy called Greg Marriott, who's the nutritionist.
Yeah. Billy Joe's one as well. Yeah.
He's with Billy Joe Saunders in wherever Billy Joe is now. So I don't think Kel's even got him, you know, to like really, he might be passing on details, you know, via WhatsApp messages. But he's not there all the time, this nutritionist. So I don't know if Kel will like overdo it, you know, after he gets weighed. Because I don't like to bring myself into this, you know, because we're talking about world champions here. But you know, when I boxed, yeah, and there was a fight that I had against a journeyman where I didn't have to weigh I could weigh anything. So I just had about 4 meals that day, you know, before the fight, and I was like really slow and sluggish, and I boxed really shit. I won the fight on points, but I looked terrible. And I'd already boxed a guy about 2 months before and looked really good beating him. But, you know, because I didn't have to make weight, I had 4 meals and I was just eating and I was just like really slow and sluggish in the fight. So I think that can really have an effect, you know. But I don't know if Kel's brought in a new, you know, nutritionist.
In fairness to Kel, I think last time I was in Sheffield, when I interviewed Kel Brook, he was close to 147 at that time. And that was a while ago, pre-pandemic. He was in and around the fighting weight of 147 anyway. So the argument is he's a lot better prepared. I know he's not been at 147 for 3 years, but he's kept himself in good nick for a little while now. No bloating up and down. He's been near enough weight. So
yeah. How do you know that? Like,
well, when I interviewed him in the Ingle gym, he was in and around weight he was saying. And that was a long time. When was that? I think that was January. That was January. I was in the Ingle gym in January. Then you remember his fight was against Damori. When was that? Who's the guy that he fought again? Not Damori. The USA guy. The guy from America. What was the guy that he fought at 154?
Mark DeLuca.
Mark DeLuca, not Damori. Yeah. So he was always in and around a good weight.
When did he fight Mark DeLuca?
That was that March? It was March. I'm sure it was March.
So that was about 6 months ago, yeah?
So he's kept himself in good nick.
But what happens after that fight there? What happens after that? Like, you know, if that fight ended and he bloated up to 3 stone heavier than his weight, and he's like kind of crashed it. Have you seen him like in between?
Oh, in between? No, not pandemic in between. But he was saying that, I'm just going by what he was saying, is that he said he was keeping an eye on his weight and training more. And you remember, there's been talk of this Crawford fight for quite a while, actually. Before it became made official, there were rumors that he was going to fight Crawford. They were talking, and then it got made official when it was all lined up. I think they were probably looking for a few final details to be finalized, but there was a lot of talk about that. And there was someone else as well. Well, there was the Mir Khan thing before that never materialized at all. So I think Kel was looking to get out at some stage this year.
Yeah, I think that you know, the Amir Khan fight is kind of old news, isn't it?
Yeah, that fight at the public at the moment are not. They're not. There's no outcry for that fight at the moment. You know, but truth be told, would you pay for that fight?
Anytime I even hear about that fight, I just switch off and I just think, I don't even want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it at all. Like, you know what I mean? It's fucking. There's a big fight coming up on Saturday, you know, with Terence Crawford. So that's enough now. That's kind of satisfying for me. You know what I mean? We don't need to. He's not fighting Jojo Dan, is he? Or Kevin Bizier. Or Frankie Gavin. So this is a good fight. So we don't need to talk about this, the Amir Khan fight. It's kind of old news now, isn't it? It's like with Deontay Wilder, you know, making all these excuses. It's kind of old news, isn't it?
Hey, I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. I was definitely wanted your point of view on
Once
that
you've
as well, man.
heard them all, you know, with the outfit. When he said the outfit's too heavy, you know, that was a bit funny. That was a bit humorous, you know, when he said that, you know, that the outfit was heavy and it weighed his legs down. So we kind of like, you know, we had a little laugh and a joke at that, you know, and a few memes were made. But, you know, after that, it just gets kind of boring and predictable, you know, when he was complaining about his bicep, you know, and his trainer spiked his drink and stuff like that. It's kind of like, it's kind of predictable now, isn't it? So I didn't really pay too much attention to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, look, Wilder was silent for a long time. And obviously, there were the American vloggers that were coming out about Glovegate and this and that. And there were little bits and bobs coming out. But what was your initial reaction to Wilder when he ended his silence and came out with that video? Was it last weekend? Yeah, it was last weekend, I think it was.
Like I just said to you, it's old news. We've already heard it with the bicep injury and what else? There was another excuse, the bicep, or fiddling about with the glove. So this video that came out recently when he's talking about his trainer spiked his drink, it's almost like we've heard this all before. So I don't understand why this is trending in the boxing world. Like, it's kind of old news, isn't it? But that's what I mean. We've got a good fight coming up this weekend with Brook and Terence Crawford. So we don't really need to like stoop to levels of talking about these silly excuses, you know, from Deontay. We've got a good fight coming up. And I'm definitely going to stay up till 4 in the morning, you know, to watch it. And I'm going to pay £10 as well.
Hey, do you know what? I can just picture it. Echo Falls and Domino's Pizza.
You know what? I've started, you know, that silly food, you know. I've started eating like, you know, healthy Jamaican food. You know, Usain Bolt. You know, the energy that he's got from eating that kind of food. I can feel, I've just had some before, you know, about an hour before this interview. I just typed into Google Jamaican food shops in Sheffield, and I drove to one, and I bought some nice jerk chicken and rice, some dumplings. And you know, when you eat that kind of food, you can tell the difference, you know, from eating that kind of food to eating like pizzas.
Yeah.
No nutritional value in pizzas at all, and chips.
Low protein, no iron, etc. Yeah, I get you.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I mean about some boxers. Some boxers have got like dietitians and nutritionists. What most boxers haven't. They haven't, you know what I mean? They can't really afford that kind of like staff, you know, to like provide them meals and stuff like that. So it's like some boxers have got the edge, you know, because they you know, like Eubank. You know, Chris Eubank Jr. or Conor Ben. These guys, they've got like dads, you know, have got money. So they can afford like the top dietitians and the top nutritionists. So I bet a lot of these guys aren't even really all that good. They've just got the luxury, you know, of having like a rich dad who can just, you know what I mean, like sort them out financially.
Well, would you make of Usyk's debut at heavyweight? I mean, I was spoken to you about that. Were you impressed? Sorry, not his debut, his fight against Chisora, sorry.
I was impressed with the movement, you know, the movement, the footwork, the in and out and the sliding to the side and all that. The movement was good, but I don't think I don't know, it's like, I don't know, I feel like, is Joshua good enough though, you know, to catch him? Because he's got good foot, Usyk. So is Joshua a bit too slow and robotic, you know, to catch him? Will Usyk be like in and out, you know, spinning around, you know, just you know, being really elusive. Would he be too elusive for Joshua? That's the thing, isn't it? Is he? Is Joshua too slow to catch him? Because, you know, these smaller guys as well. You know, Kid Galahad, he's like really small. He's about 5'4". So, you know, sparring with him, there's like less target to aim for. And, you know, when I spar the tall guys, there's more target to aim for. So some of these smaller guys, they might be like looked upon as being like at a disadvantage, you know, because of their height. They're small. I think sometimes it might give them an advantage because there's like less target to aim for. So I don't know if Joshua will be able to land anything on Usyk. I'm trying to think, did Derek land anything? Derek hasn't with anything. I can't remember. I've watched the fight twice. And I can't remember one punch that Derek caught him with.
Yeah, his movement was exceptional. I think the question marks is about the power. You know, at heavyweight, does it transfer from cruiserweight to heavyweight? And, you know, there's, I mean, for instance, a Deontay Wilder, I mean, how would Usyk get on against Deontay Wilder, whose power is unquestionable, you know? And that's where people are saying, well, they're not quite sure. Some people are saying that. So it's going to be interesting, but it's still early days in his heavyweight career, isn't it? So it's too early to judge.
I don't know. That's what I mean. It's like we can talk all day about Usyk's really skillful and he's got that good lateral movement, and will Joshua be too slow for him? No, but like Tyson's a good boxer as well, isn't he? But he's got the height and the reach advantage, you know, over Usyk. He's
a master technician, no doubt about it.
Who?
Tyson Fury. Master technician. Master technician.
He's got the height advantage and the reach advantage. So, but like I just said, I don't know if height is a good advantage. Mike Tyson was quite small, wasn't he? But I'm not comparing Usyk to Mike Tyson. Do you like Tyson's podcasts?
Wicked. That for me, the best podcast. It's the best podcast for me.
He's better than Joe Rogan.
Yeah, because Mike Tyson was my hero. So, you know, Joe Rogan's his top. But I'm a bit biased because Mike Tyson, my hero, and Mike Tyson, he gets on the musicians, the hip hop guest as well. And that's kind of, he got Eminem on. So, and Jim Jones and that for me sways it. That for me sways it all day long.
You know, I was really excited to see Mike Tyson get Eminem on.
Yeah, mad.
But you know, Mike Tyson didn't really let him talk, you know. Mike Tyson, he's smoking the weed. So he's like, mine's just going like, you know what I mean? He's taught. I like listening to Mike Tyson, but I'm a fan of Eminem as well.
Yeah. All right, Tyan, man. I got to thank you for your time once again, man. And hey, do you know what? Hopefully, after the fight, Brook versus Khan. Sorry. Crawford versus Brook.
That's old news, isn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully, what the hell's that? Hopefully, yeah, we'll catch up, man, over that, man. And that fight's gonna be interesting, man. And
all right, we'll do a post-fight review of that, yeah.